So as I was hearing first Janet speak and then Angela and Sindhu, I was like, oh no, they've covered all the lies I tell myself already. I was like, hating my body, check. Relationship, like 7-year marriage with alcoholic husband, check. Divorce, check. So I was like, oh no, what new lies am I going to talk about? But there's so many, don't worry. There were a lot many more. We don't need to worry at all. There's a long list, guys. So I thought the best way to make this list was to do it chronologically. So when I was a child, I actually don't remember how young, till about when I was 10 or 11 years old, I was sexually abused by my cousin. A little bit of discomfort in the room. Let's sit with that discomfort, because also one of the lies I used to tell myself is that it's not a big deal. I didn't talk about it for many years. And then when I did talk about it after some therapy, etc., I would try to make light of it. It's like, oh guys, don't worry, I'm totally over it. It's not a big deal at all. It happens with all women. 9 out of 10 women in India have gone through sexual abuse. So yeah, let's all just like not get uncomfortable, because another lie I think we tell ourselves is that we don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. And so it's taken me a long time, but now when I do talk about it, I'm like, yeah, it was terrible. It affected my life for many years. So many decisions that I've made have been solely because of it. It was a big deal, and if you're all feeling uncomfortable about it, let's just feel uncomfortable about it for a while. Yes.
Thank you.
So the big lie that I told myself about it was that it was my fault, right? And so very deeply, unfortunately, that is the lie that most women, all in my experience that I have personally spoken to, tell ourselves about our sexual abuse. And when I had enough personal conversations with women around me, and then I had realized that this is a lie we repeatedly tell ourselves, I wanted to do something to help other women stop telling themselves a lie a little bit earlier than I stopped telling myself. And so about 8 years ago now, with a bunch of other women who had also experienced sexual abuse and had lied to themselves about it being their fault, we started an organization called Kranti, where we work with girls who grew up in Mumbai's red light areas, who have all faced sexual abuse, various kinds of abuse, one way or another, and we wanted to, and we do work with them on. So yes, so along with a group of women with very similar experiences, we started an organization called Kranti, which means revolution in Hindi for those of you who are not familiar with the language. And we work with girls who grew up in Mumbai's red light areas, who have faced sexual abuse and various kinds of abuse growing up. And of course we work on their education and getting them opportunities and getting them to their goals and dreams they have for their lives. But the very first thing we have to work on is convincing them that all the abuse that happened to them was not their fault. And it's a long, tedious process that involves lots of therapy, lots of yoga, meditation, art therapy, music therapy, every arsenal we can pull out, and even then it takes years. But we've also realized that we can't do anything else. We can't work on education and on employment and on any other opportunities until we stop believing that abuse that happened to us is our fault. And that's true for all of us. So that was one big lie I was telling myself. And actually, when we started working with Kranti is when we had to go out and speak to a lot of people about the work we were doing, of course. And that's where, and so of course I was going and I was like, yeah, so I started this organization because I had my personal experience of sexual abuse, but no big deal. And I never realized I was doing that until I saw my co-founders do that on stage as well. And only watching it from the outside made me realize, because Angela, as you were saying, we're so much kinder to others than we are to themselves, right? We truly don't mostly tell our friends that you're not enough and you're ugly and fat, whatever, but we'll easily tell ourselves these things every single day, right? And so it was easier for me to look at my co-founders and the girls who work with at Kranti and say that sexual abuse was not your fault. It was that much harder for me to say it to myself. So as much as Kranti, we hope has been a healing space for all the girls we work with, I think my co-founders and I would all agree that it was a healing space for us first. That when we were able to say to all these other people around us in this home that your abuse was not your fault, we were finally able to say it to ourselves. So actually when the email from Women's Economic Forum came through and this was the topic, I was staying with a friend at the time and I was like, oh, look at this, it's this really interesting topic. It says lies women tell about themselves. And she said two things to me. The first thing she said was, wow, how did they know that you were an expert in this? That's the first thing she said.
You're all experts in it.
And so the second thing she actually said was, I'm an expert in it too, and let me tell you about that. And it was wonderful because this is a very close friend of mine, but then it was at that moment that she went on to share her story of postpartum depression with me. And even being a close female friend, it's not something that she'd really come out and shared. So you can forget her having shared that with anyone else, right? And then basically from that, we ended up having a conversation about another lie I think we tell about ourselves, to ourselves and to others, is all these things that women are expected to be. Right? We're expected to be naturally motherly. We are expected to be sensitive and emotional and high on empathy and all these characteristics that are considered the feminine energy, right? And truth is, there are a lot of wonderful women out there who are amazing mothers and who are so empathetic and sensitive and, you know, are really there for their friends and all of that. But it's not true of all women. But we have to pretend to be those things even if we are not. Because if we are not, then the judgment of everyone else around is too strong, right? I have never biologically wanted to have children. I knew this from when I was 14 for various reasons. One of which is the world is getting destroyed, guys. Like, I really don't know if my children will live out their full lifespan, unfortunately. But for many reasons, I knew that. And whenever I try to share that, and of course people are like, aren't you having children? You're 32. And when I try telling them that I don't want to, they look at me like the Antichrist. You're a woman who doesn't love children? I don't not love children. I don't think all children should, you know, be like taken into a corner and killed. No, I feel the same way about children as I do about fish. They're beautiful in a little bowl and I like watching them from a distance.
I have been Kranti when I was 13 and I had to go to school and Trina used to wake me up at 6 and make breakfast for me and every that motherly thing.
This is why I don't want to have children, by the way, because I was like, oh, this is what having children is like. Wake up early in the morning, drag them to school. No, not for me. But no, like, she's right, because then the other thing people tell me is like, oh, but you're already bringing up so many other people's children. Why don't you want to have children of my own? And I was like, because I'm busy bringing up some other children. But the point is not why I personally don't want to have children, right? The point is that I think, at this point I have enough conversations with women to know that a lot of women feel pressured to be a certain kind of woman because that's what's expected of us, right? And so you know, then the last couple of years of my life were a time of big change in my life. This divorce started happening, and I was struggling with some mental health issues. So I started working a lot on myself, and I'm a very type A, just go for it kind of. If you challenge me to do something, I will do it. And so I was like, I'm going to grow. I'm going to become a better person. Until actually like a couple of months into therapy, my therapist sat me down and said, Trina, stop trying to win therapy. He really said this to me. He's like, stop trying to win therapy. But the good part of it is, I think I'm very close to overcoming a lot of these lies that I have been telling about myself, right? I think body image, I'm doing a lot better with that. About the sexual abuse and that not being my fault, I think I'm doing a lot better with that. The divorce not being my fault, I'm doing a lot better with that, because a lot of it sounds crazy when I say it. A lot of people, including my parents, thought that my alcoholic husband was my fault. But it's growth that I can stand here today and be like, that's so crazy, they think it's my fault, because I think 2 years ago I would have been like, yeah, that's totally my fault. So I was going through all these changes, and I think I started doing better, and I started telling myself a lot of these truths that a lot of you have been talking about, right? I am enough, I'm great, I love myself, etc. And then I think I sort of flipped to telling myself another kind of lie, where I was like, I'm a strong, independent, feminist woman, I don't need anybody's help, I don't need anybody's help. Bullshit. Exactly. Another lie we tell ourselves, right? So I went from the spectrum of like
the negative one.
Exactly, to like, I'm so great and amazing and enough and fulfilled by myself that I don't need anybody's help. And I think that's another lie we tell ourselves that's as bad and harmful as perhaps these other ones that we've been talking about. Because the truth is, woman, man, whoever we are human beings. We are programmed to live in society. We are programmed to live in communities, and we need people. I'm getting really I'm really connecting with you guys, so I keep but this is not good for the camera, so I'll be right here. and equally harmful, right? Yes. Because there were so many times that I really basically 2 years ago I was diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder and secondary depression, and there were really days where I would wake up in the morning and I don't know the way to the coffee machine, right? Or like even just getting a cab and making it to work seems like a task that would give me an anxiety attack. And I would have really it would have been great for me if I was able to call up a friend and say, I need you to come home and just make sure I'm fed and I'm alive. There have been so many days like that, but I wasn't able to, because I felt like that would mean that I'm weak and I'm less. And I'm like, I've just spent 2.5 years convincing myself I'm enough. I'm not going to go out there tell the world that I'm actually not enough. So anyway, here I am today, just trying to find the middle path between being enough and whole and fulfilled and happy by myself. But when I do need help, as everybody does, to be able to ask for that as well. And I really think the way to overcome these lies we tell ourselves, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. The truth is not on this end or the other. I don't know what my center is yet, but that's what I'm figuring out. And Jayashree, who's known me for so many years at Kranti now, will say that I think this year is the first time when I think people were like, hey Trina, can you come for this meeting? Can you come do this? And I was like, I really can't today. I'm really not feeling good today. I'm going to try my best to do it next week. If there's stuff I can do from home, from my bed, I'll do it today. But today I can't do this meeting. And I think that's my middle part. So yeah, and here's hoping that all of us and all of us in the world, men, women, children, young people, find this middle path truth for all of ourselves, where we love ourselves and we admit that we need other people's love as well. That's all, guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you. Questions, any thoughts? Yes.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. After you.
I think that one of the things that you tapped into is, as a strong woman, and you are strong because you've come through so much, But as a strong woman, you think you have to do it all yourself. And learning to receive was probably the greatest gift that I got when my husband passed away. Because up until then, I know I can do it myself, I don't need any help. And when he passed and everybody was offering help, and I just allowed them to help me, it was like I gave them the gift that they were looking for, and I got the gift that I needed. And so learning to receive is probably one of the hardest things for strong women to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Trina, I'm so glad that you were really honest about your journey. You know, many women wouldn't share it. Especially here, we never share it. You know, we're supposed to be more
I'm standing
discreet.
on the shoulders of giants.
I know.
Yeah, because I think all of you did such a wonderful job of sharing honestly. By the time it came to me, I was like, what more uncomfortable things could I say?
Yeah.
You guys set the example. Thank you.
It's very nice that you're dealing with the people, women who are troubled, especially sexually abused women. You know, it's something which is more of a taboo to talk about in India. So I'm so glad that you're coming out with programs like that.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate on what you're saying. It's not just in India. It's everywhere. I remember years ago, I was in the theater and we were standing in a group of 100 people, and we just decided to ask how many people had ever been sexually abused. And over 80% of the people raised their hands. Nobody talked about it, and in some cases when you're really little, like for me, my abuse happened when I was 5 years old. I didn't even know that it was. I just knew that something was wrong and something didn't feel right. So coming together, when we hear from a father or a teacher or someone that we value, that they say, like your father said to you, you won't be enough, you'll be discriminated against or whatever, we believe it and we accept that lie, and then it becomes our own lie. And those are sometimes the most challenging ones to let go of, because not only are we doing it for ourselves, but we're also, in a way, we feel like we're dishonoring the people that we honor the most, their wisdom. And so, you know, I'm so proud to be here and listen to all of you, but the truth is that as a community of human beings, we can all lift each other up. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just wanted to say that we can use the word sexual abuse, but still in our world, we are so discouraged to use the word shame. And what we're talking about here is that shame has been laid upon us as human beings, as children, as women, as men, and that we need to be able to open this up and say that what was cast upon me made me feel ashamed of who I am. Because until we're willing and able to share that we have been shamed or are ashamed, that insidiousness continues to wrap itself around our hearts, our soul, our intellect, our achievement, and our world. And it prohibits us from truly loving and being love, and receiving love, all of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Another, same category, always the eldest in the family, and I was the girl child, but I was expected to just be the perfect child, and I started playing this role of being strong, because it was expected of me. I also started playing the role that I needed to be perfect, I needed to shine everywhere, and in doing so, no matter when I was vulnerable, I never showed it, right? Till I came across my first mentor back in Malaysia, and he just looked at me and he was like, oh, and behind those smiles, I see a vulnerable child, and just craving for a hug and a love. And I just looked at him, and he goes like, you know what? And this is a master who has like, a few 100,000 followers, and he's talking to me and looking into my eyes, and he goes, you know what, Minku? It's a curse to be strong. And that was huge. And he goes like, it's a curse. It's a bigger curse to show the world that you're strong. And when someone associates strength with the curse, not literally, basically that you're doing so much injustice to yourself. That's what he meant. And he goes like, you know what? Be a teddy bear. And I will never forget this till my deathbed. He goes like, be a teddy bear. Stop being strong. Being also strong is overwhelming for a lot of people around. Your own family forgets. They'll always, human tendency, psychology is that it's great to be needed. So human psychology always goes and attends to someone who needs you. It fulfills them. You know what I mean? So you get left out because you are not even seeking that hug. So he says, be a teddy bear and say, can I hug you? Or I want to hug today. And it was so difficult, so difficult. Today I go around hugging trees. I hug everyone. And I just think that soul-to-soul connection, that's because whatever chakras open, and then I was pure love. And, but really, I think that crux, we need to know how to make that transition from being strong to being vulnerable, because wanting love also means you are vulnerable, So the other thing that I wanted to say, which I would love to catch up with you later, is rightfully, I think all four of you touched on the fact that especially, I'd love to have a chat with you as well. Talking about symbols. The mind scientifically does not understand any other gibberish but symbols. And that's why on caves and everywhere else you always saw symbols from age old, whether it was hieroglyphics or, whichever. So talking about, when we talk about wounds, we also talk about scars. Right? It leaves scars in our deep consciousness when there's been abuse, whatever kind of. So if we can connect and talk about how to actually eradicate right from the subconscious, because in the consciousness we think we've attended to abuse and hurt and shame, but that is so embedded in the deepest consciousness that's where it needs to be healed. Right. So, we can work with what I do is Phyllis Crystal. I don't know, has anyone heard about Phyllis Crystal? Oh. Cutting the ties that bind? She's American. Yes. And so those really work beautifully, and those scars and everything is gone from the subconscious always, so we can have a connect. Thank you.
As a man, I'd like to thank you for sharing. As a man, I'd like to thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here in this session.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Well, here you would be called a Krishna in between all the gopis.